Okay, another historic day. You're live in the war room from our nation's capital. Still the military occupied with the razor wire up near the Capitol. Wednesday, the 3 February, year of our Lord 2021, on Real America's Voice, americasvoice.news. It's Dish Channel 219, Comcast Channel 113, John Frederick's Radio Network, in Mandarin simultaneously on G News GTV. Subtitled later in the day, blown through the firewall into mainland China and throughout the world to the diaspora. And everywhere on Rumble, and we'll have to give all the coordinates here about how to have it. We're going to have Cheryl Chumley on in a little while, the author of the book Socialists Don't Sleep, Christians Must Rise, or America Will Fall. We're going to ask about all these charges about this Christian nationalism. To what's the background of this, of what the left is attacking evangelical Christians about and conservative Catholics. Raheem, I want to go back. You got so much that popped in that last in your segments, the same people are not following. I want to go back to the Biden first. You know, they used to get to President Trump. Oh, you know, first he'd take the daily briefing at 9 o'clock, where Obama never actually took the daily briefing. He'd have it on a secure iPad and make comments. He's just the kind of guy, he's just not a people person, right? And some people are like that, like reading. Sometimes I'm like that. Just like, I'd rather read it than have it briefed. But Biden is clearly being hidden by the people around him. Yeah, he's not out there talking about. They want questions in advance. You never really see him. It's all everything's on the glass. He can't even come and make any kind of off the remarks. The author Mike McCormick of the book Biden Unauthorized, which everybody should get, makes the case that this guy's at 50% of mental capacity. And you're saying Politico. I want to go back over that. What is Politico reporting?
So, firstly, the president and Kamala Harris will receive the president's daily brief at 5:30 p.m. It's absolutely bizarre. I don't know what you're getting briefed on at that point in the day. Then,
well, he's just coming out of a sundowner. The sundowner is about 4. No, the sundowner with the dementia thing is about 4 to it's about 4 to 5:30. Yeah. Right. So when he comes out of his nap, when he comes out of the sundowner, his head's kind of leaning down. Yeah. That's when he gets his brief.
And another really telling part.
If Donald Trump did that, you think they'd have anything to say about it?
But here's my thing about conservative media: is they should be leading with this stuff. Listen, the left wins in the minutia. It beats us on detail. It goes into every single room, in every single corner, and investigates every speck of dust, right? And that's what people ask me, why do you bother reading the Axios and Politico news roundups in the morning? I'm going to tell you right now why. Okay, so here's this buried in Politico's playbook this morning. Quote, I think it sounded more like Ron Klain than Joe Biden, the advisor said, suggesting the chief of staff's more partisan edge is prevailing over Biden's preference for deal-making. Now, what they're doing is they're talking about the COVID relief package. But
they're going to ram it down. They're going to use the technicality to ram it down.
But what they're admitting here is the chief of staff is prevailing over the president. And again, if this was the Trump administration, people would be going, oh my goodness, what is going on? He's not in charge of his faculty. 25th Amendment, and our side doesn't even read this, doesn't even know that this is going on.
Let's go back to the Fauci. What did you miss on Fauci? Because I want to go back. Listen, this thing on Fauci and the children, and here's the tell. Madeline Peltz at Media Matters, which is going through, Media Matters was quiet on this yesterday. Dead silence, at least our latest purview. We're going to check that again, but dead silence on this, on my rant on Fauci. And the reason is, They ran it. That was a trial balloon. They understand how radioactive this is. And let's go back. Fauci said, I think it was AP that reported. I saw it up on the Yahoo News site where they take these stories and just put them up. I think it was AP. Associated Press reported that Fauci said, he's been moving the goalposts in this whole thing of herd immunity, and they haven't called him out yet. It was at 60%. Then eventually saying it's 90%. And at 90%, you can't do that with just voluntary vaccinations. That's the other buried lead in these stories. You can't just do that with voluntary vaccinations. What the point of Fauci even moving the goalposts? He said, the American people weren't ready for this when I first said 60%, right? Because if I said 9%, everybody said, no, no vaccinations, we can't do this. Fauci admits that he's lying to people and misleading them for their better. He's your better. He's great. He's daddy.
They pay him like he's the better.
Yeah, he's daddy, and so he can just. And now we're into a situation. If their math is correct on the herd immunity, and they're talking at 90%, not 85%, they're talking 90%. And if you look down in the buried leads in those stories, they say, by the way, that just can't be done with a voluntary program of vaccinations, particularly given the percentage of people that want, none of it. That then Fauci comes out and says the key to herd immunity is the vaccinations of the children. Now, all the other news stories on that interview picked up vaccinations of children were starting the spring and the summer, of school children starting the spring and the summer. The buried lead that the one group, I think it was the Associated Press, picked up and put up was that, but he said that the vaccination of the children are the key to herd immunity. People got to wake up to this. I've said this. Look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, although, and like I said, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. I've mocked and ridiculed the QAnon stuff, although there's certain elements of what QAnon says I think has to be looked at, definitely has to be looked at, although I don't believe in the conspiracy theory of it. I think people got way too carried away about that. I'm also not an anti-vaxxer, although I was the guy that brought Robert Kennedy up to see the President-elect Trump, and he made a very compelling argument, so compelling that President Trump says, hey, I think we ought to have a commission on this and ought to have it. Kennedy went down to the sticks, said that in the lobby of Trump Tower, and Big Pharma melted down. And Big Pharma owns the Republican Party lock, stock, and barrel. It's an open secret, right? By the way, owns half of the Democratic Party, too. They spread more money around than the social media companies because they want to keep those big margins. But here, what those guys have been saying, and I've said this for a long time, come spring and summer, you're going to have another crisis. And here's what the crisis is going to be. These guys have changed the goalposts so many times that now the concept that we talked about on the first show back on January 23rd, 24th, 25th of 2020, and the very thing to get the nomenclature talked to you about herd immunity. Now they're telling you, and hey, when all the experts were coming then, it was all 60%, 65%, these best guys in the world. Now it's 90%. And they're saying, hey, with these new variants, you don't even know if that's going to be included. Yet they still got the WHO guys who lied back on January 12th, 13th, and 14th of 2020, lied about what the Chinese Communist Party, they supported the lies of the CCP and got us in this jam. They're over there now in Wuhan, going over for a couple of hours, seeing a couple of desks, walking around where they've cleared everything out because they understand that this virus came from the Wuhan lab. And the guys on Bill Maher the other day said, oh, yeah, well, if it hadn't been Bannon, if it hadn't been the wrong guy telling us this back in January, February, and March, people are taking it more seriously. Hey, sorry if you don't like the truth. And I've told this about this vaccination situation. And let's go back. I just want to go back to their documents. They had a proposal. He put a strategy up in March in the primary season. Okay? Biden. He then referenced that, and Raheem and I and Jason, I think at the time, or not Jason, he was in the campaign. We jumped on him when he talked about at his convention, the digital convention. They referred in the speech to the March. I've had a strategy. They said, hey, you got a learning curve. The world's changed since then. They responded, sent Kamala Harris back here to Washington that Friday during Trump's convention to counter that with their updated plan. Oh, yeah, we've got an updated plan. Nothing about vaccination of children. Okay, and Trump was doing the great mission of the great leap forward to get the vaccination here rapidly. This Marshall Plan for the vaccinations. Then Biden, the presidency. He assumes the presidency because he'll always be illegitimate to me, always. Sorry Twitter, sorry Facebook, sorry Google, sorry Fox. MSNBC, CNN, always will be illegitimate, okay? But he puts out his first report, which is 200 pages long, but he's got a 25-page summary with the blue cover. He's waving around the Oval Office right by the fireplace, by there, the yellow chairs, waving around. They have, and we had it up yesterday, if we can pull that, they had a couple of lines about adolescents. The federal government needs to do additional research into the impact of vaccines on adolescents. And its efficacy, I think it was. Right? There it is right there. Read that. I don't have my glasses on. I'm so vain.
I can't get that far.
Okay.
The federal government will continue to support research into the use of vaccines for adolescents and children.
Okay. To continue to do research, right? Research, which is fine. You should do that. We should be doing that. Right? But then Tony Fauci comes out. You got breaking news? Tony Fauci comes out. And Tony Fauci says, no, the buried lead, when they're all saying, hey, kids are going to get vaccinated in spring and summer. But that's not the important thing of what he said. The buried lead, one group picked it up and says, no, they are the key to herd immunity. They're the key to herd immunity. Now herd immunity has been bumped to 90%, and they're telling you in all the other stories in the other buried lead, You can't get there with just voluntary vaccination. So what is that? Let's have some logic, right? Therefore, what they're going to tell you in the spring and the summer is, and they're going to start with this digital passport, and they're going to say, hey, if you don't have it, you can't go to school, you can't go to public schools, government-run schools. They're going to sit there and say, oh, no, we have to do, it's going to be, you're going to have involuntary, you're going to have basically mandatory vaccinations. If Biden's administration and Psaki and even lying Tony Fauci, the pathological liar, because he is a pathological liar, and I saw where Nat Geo's doing a big documentary. We're going to love to be all over that, all the lies and misrepresentations. Are you going to do everything he said, that he changed his mind or he knew what the facts were and then told the public something different? You're going to have all those lies out there? He has to be held accountable. He's the chief medical advisor to the president. Biden put him there. I said this early on. They're going to regret that. They're going to regret that. Because he's obviously a Democratic supporter and a Biden supporter and all that, but he's not controllable because his ego's so big, right? And it's been stoked by a complacent, lazy, and stupid mainstream media.
Well, I mean, in reality, he is controllable. He's just not controllable by the United States. He answers to a different power. And I'm not saying that he's answering to a different government. What I'm saying is he's answering to a different philosophy. And that philosophy is global governance. That philosophy is that you have organizations like the World Health Organization, which in and of itself answers to a different power, right? But Fauci believes in the WHO more than he believes in the United States of America. That's very clear. It's clear from the way he speaks.
That's a pretty big charge.
No, it's not at all. It's very clear. It's very clear in the way he speaks.
Peter Navarro would back you up. When Peter Navarro was in the Situation Room in the first week of this, after our show had been on a couple of days, and he's sitting there going, we have to close the borders to China, we have to close air traffic, and we have to quarantine everybody's coming back. The guy fighting me didn't know who he was. He says this little short guy, and that's coming from Navarro, right? He's saying he's in my face that you can't, that those quarantines don't work, and specifically you can't close borders, which is the globalist thing. That's what World Health Organization always says, which is obviously ridiculous. You don't want infected people coming in here, right? It says, oh, they'll just lie about it more. And he fought that. That guy was Tony Fauci. And then Tony Fauci got so concerned about how he looked in that first week with the WABC interview, the John Catsimatidis interview, the Newsmax interview, all of it, that he's actually, in hindsight, lied about what he told the president on that day when the president authorized the stopping of travel from Wuhan and the thing. He said, oh, yeah, I was for it. That is a stone-cold lie. And Peter Navarro is an eyewitness to that stone-cold lie. Okay, Raheem, get people. I know we got a bunch of breaking news. You got the Fauci thing too.
And I just want to add to that, which is when they talk about vaccinating the children. Again, can we go back to evidence-based, science-based, please? Because the last age group's contribution to COVID-19 transmission in the U.S. data tells us that the age group 0 to 9 has 2% of the estimated transmission rate of total 100% across all age groups, and the ages 10 to 19 has 4%. The rest account for the rest. That's 94%, which isn't children, and yet Fauci, for some reason, is obsessed with getting your children mandatorily. And let's be clear, when you say mandatory, it means forced vaccinations.
So they're saying it, by the way, just connect the dots. Just look what they said. The key to herd immunity, and herd immunity, as he defines it, is 90%. And they also tell you can't get there with voluntary vaccinations. The key to herd immunity is the children. That's from Fauci's lips, okay? We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return with Cheryl Chumley from the Washington Times next on War Room Pandemic.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we've had a Big Brother incident here in the break of the War Room. Tell us what went on, Raheem.
Well, you've got a very, very large Anthony Fauci head speaking behind you on the screens. They're giving the COVID briefing right now. But it couldn't look more Orwellian if they tried. I mean, they're going for... I mean, I'm not saying it's a headshot, like, of his shoulders up. It's literally just a talking head behind you on the screen.
We're going to get, we're monitoring this right now. I want to make sure that we follow, if he's ever asked a question about this, quite frankly, explosive comment. It's so explosive, Media Matters didn't want to touch it, right? They did not want to give any air any oxygen to this at all because they know we caught Fauci dead to rights. This is very serious. The administration has to come forward right now. They just put out a plan. The ink was not drawn. At 200 pages long of their plan, their strategic plan. It's what they said they're betting their presidency on, the COVID-19 bill and their handling of getting under control. I think we're going to have Jen Psaki. I don't want to totally. I think she says it's going to take us a couple of years to get to pre-COVID, but I want to make sure we get the quote right. As soon as Denver pulls it, I want to play it. This with Fauci is dead serious because with these guys, you have to connect dots. You have to go back to what they said. You have to go back to what they print. I would just ask the Biden administration. You've now had 3 or 4 strategic plans. Part of those incorporated in your latest. But there you said, we want to further research in the vaccinations for adolescents. You didn't even say children. I think it was adolescents. I don't know if it said adolescents, children, adolescents. Adolescents. Didn't even say children. Didn't mention of children. And now Fauci comes out a couple of days later and they announce, it's going to be spring and summer. That's the headline on 20 news articles. Major news, spring and summer. One operation got the buried lead where he said they're the key to herd immunity. Where herd immunity now says is 90%. They also say, all the experts say, well, you can't get to 90% with voluntary vaccinations. Can't do it. Excuse me. This is an issue. Now, we're going to see if the mainstream media, if anybody's done their homework, and anybody will ask Fauci that question and see what his spin is today. They will back off that in a New York second, okay? It is not possible. Not just the anti-vax movement, but the number of mothers out there that are basically saying, not with my kid, right? Hands off. And I'm talking about college-educated women who hate the sound of Donald Trump's name, are not prepared to do this. And particularly not prepared to do it in the spring of 2021, right? They're going to say, come back to me in 10 years, right? Come back to me in a decade and we'll talk about it. But not now. You're not going to take the children. There's Fauci. The children are the key to herd immunity, right? The vaccinations of the children are the key to herd immunity. This is Tony Fauci in all his glory.
I think you also need to pay attention to just how much these people are willing to toy around, because they're utopians, right? They believe that a little sacrifice is a good thing in the long run. Because, you toy around with this vaccine and you fiddle with these genes. I mean, effectively, this is what gain of function is. Gain of function is messing around with things because they have this idea of creating a world in whatever, 50, 100 years that doesn't look like it looks now.
This plague on the world is brought to you by Tony Fauci and the guys over at the Wuhan lab.
Right.
It's all a gain of function. We said that on the first episode. We had Bill Gertz in here. He was vilified. On the Bill Maher show, it said, well, if the wrong guy hadn't have said it, people would have listened. Yeah. Well, how the deplorables listened. This is why the show's so big. People throughout the world, the hedge fund guys listened. The news producers listened. The smart people listened. It's Tony Fauci. We're going to get to more of that tomorrow. Maybe today. Okay. I want to bring in Cheryl Chumley from the Washington Times online opinion editor, author of the book Socialists Don't Sleep. Christians must rise, not should rise, must rise, or America will fall. That subtitle is about in your grill as you can get. And by the way, so I think everybody, first of all, everybody in the audience that is a practicing Christian or a practicing Catholic or any Christian denomination should get this book. It is, I think, for you guys, a must read about how to think about things. And I think it makes a lot of stuff very evident that maybe gets lost in the daily news cycle. But in the book, it's also got Join the 8 O'Clock Club. The 8 O'Clock Club, which is in the spiritual warfare to win back America. This is a little thing. It says at 8 a.m. every day, wherever you are. And 8 p.m. every day, wherever you are, like 12 hours a day. Stop for just 1 minute. 1 minute out of your busy day. And pray for America. Join the 8 O'Clock Club. Every day at 8 a.m., every day at 8 p.m. And I've been so inspired by Cheryl Chumley and her 8 O'Clock Club that I've actually taken to that. So,
what about those of us who don't wake up before 8?
Yeah, no, that's a different thing.
I do 8:30 club, okay?
8:30 club or 9:30 club. Cheryl, talk to us about why this is what's controversial, because people say that you're just one of the intellectuals for the Christian nationalist movement. And we're a huge believer that the Judeo-Christian West has done something very special in world history, and not only is it not only worth preserving, it's worth promulgating those tenets in that culture and that civilization that has done so much to free man and to make us a wealthier and happier place. But your subtitle is a little controversial. Christians must rise, or America will fall. So talk to us about what do you mean by that subtitle?
Well, thank you so much for those very kind words. And really, I'm so happy to hear that you're motivated to pray for our nation as a group with the 8 o'clock club. That's amazing. And to answer your question, I know the second part, the subtitle, is controversial. But it's the truth. And often, especially when a world grows more secular, the truth becomes radical. And the thing is, you can be an atheist and you can be a patriot at the same time. But if you want a long-term success for America, you have to engage as a Christian in the politics, in the culture. You can't just sit on the sidelines, go to church on Sunday, and wag your finger at the TV about all that ails America, but not get involved yourself. This is why we are where we're at in America right now, fighting the evil Dr. Anthony Fauci's and so forth. Because, and I agree with everything you said about Fauci, but if we don't, as a Christian community, rise up, but
Cheryl, let me just throw a counter argument, not from the secularists, that say, hey, that's an assertion that it's the truth. That's just your assertion. You don't have evidence to back it up. But let's leave the secular argument aside. Let me take some of the Christian and Catholic argument I hear is saying, look, we shouldn't be involved in the town square. We shouldn't be involved in politics. What we have to do is save ourselves, save our communities, pray for grace, do good works, make the place through civic society better. But politics is dirty. It's nasty. It's got guys like Donald Trump and Steve Bannon and other, unsavory characters in it. And it should be, we're not going to save ourselves. We're not going to save our immortal souls if we get involved in that. What's your response to the Christians and Catholics who just want to punch out and say, hey, that's for people that are really ambitious and they use the Christian thing as a front, but they're really wolves in sheep's clothing?
That's a little bit selfish. If you're a Christian and you think, well, I'm saved, I'm good, my kids are good, my church community is good, so why do I have to get involved in the dirty day-to-day living of politics? That's a little bit selfish. We don't live in boxes. We don't separate our Christianity from our daily life. Why should we separate it from our politics? And remember, the core basic greatness of America is that in this nation, our rights come from God, not government. And that's not just a blessing. That's not just a guarantee of individual freedoms. It carries with it a responsibility. So if we want our rights as individuals to be granted by God at birth, then we need to fight for that. We need to maintain that principle in our culture, in our political system.
We got about 2 minutes left, and I want to go to the 8 o'clock club. How did you come up with it? It's spiritual warfare to win back America. At 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., all you're asking people to do is take a minute to pray for the nation. How did you come up with it, and tell me how can people get involved?
Well, I was booted on social media. I was booted on LinkedIn. I had like 20,000 connections, and they didn't like my opinion piece that I wrote about actually Dr. Fauci and some contact tracing issues coming forward from this COVID madness. So I decided, well, if I get booted from social media, there's still God. God doesn't need social media to gather his remnant together to save the country. So I created a Facebook page, 8 p.m., 8 a.m., real easy. Just throw in a few seconds of prayer specifically to save America from socialism and the globalists and collectivists, and he will hear where more than two come in his name. So it was that premise that led me to that.
Okay, I want everybody, particularly practicing Christians. I think it's very important. If you're a practicing Christian, have been a little hanging back and getting involved, I think you got to get the book. Start with the Christians. If you're secularist, you can pass on it, but socialists don't sleep. Christians must rise, or America will fall. By Cheryl Chumley. You've got to get it. You've got to read it. You've got to embrace it. Okay, Cheryl, how do people get access to you? What are your coordinates?
CherylChumley.com is my personal website, or find me on the Washington Times, and you can subscribe to my commentaries there as well as my Bold and Blunt podcast.
Yeah,
Thank you, Steve.
You got to listen to the Bold and Blunt. It's a great podcast. Actually, a little, even it runs a little hotter than Raheem's. Okay, Cheryl, thank you very much. Great job over the Washington Times. Love what you guys are doing. She's the online opinion editor for the great newspaper in Washington, D.C., the Washington Times, great conservative newspaper. Take a short commercial break. We're going to have a special guest, I think, drop by the War Room. Another one had Gates earlier. I think we've got another great filmmaker who's going to drop in. Plus, America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, going to talk to us about the trial of the century. The second one is going to start next week.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we're back. We're going to get to America's Mayor. What is Jen? We got some. I got to make sure I get this. So text it to Raheem, since I'm running the railroad here. Jen Psaki said, and how was that missed by Wall Street, that the economy is not going to be back to pre-COVID numbers to 2025?
I hate to be a mean girl here, but probably wasn't missed by Wall Street. I'm just not sure that anything Jen Psaki has the credibility that people actually listen to it. I'm deadly serious.
You're a mean girl.
No, I'm not being weird about this.
That's your being weird about
That's so obvious, though.
Okay, but I want to get the quote.
Fine.
Here's the thing, but the important thing of that is, where's the outrage of the American people right now about the Chinese Communist Party, who visited this plague upon you? If you're saying 2025, that's half a decade lost. What does it say? Read it to me.
Okay, it says, you all asked yesterday about that CBO report's new analysis that came out by the CBO that without action, that report showed also that without action, she cannot speak. Hang on. The report also showed that without action, our economy won't reach pre-pandemic levels until 2025.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So they're talking about the 1.9.
Right.
They're trying to justify the 1.9.
Right. Exactly.
Look, but that's still, there's no free lunch. When they talk about 1.9 trillion, you're paying for it. This is going on, these massive deficits that are bridging mechanisms, we said definitely necessary because the drop in aggregate demand. This was why we started pandemic. The pandemic triggered an economic crisis that then triggered a capital markets crisis that then triggered a geopolitical crisis that then captured itself in American politics. That's why we deconstruct every element of this. So you have another 1.9 trillion. I think this gets up to $4 trillion, $5 trillion we spent overall. That's the Chinese Communist Party. They did that to us. They did it. And it's not racist because they did it. We defend the Chinese people. They did it to Lao Beijing first. Mm-hmm. We still have no earthly idea how many dead are in China. And we get this from the Chinese. Remember, all spring, every weekend, every Saturday for 2 hours, every Saturday, we have nothing but specials from the Chinese people in their voice.
Just as something to make you even madder, remember, most of that money also is not going back to the American public, right? The 1.9 billion.
Yes.
What it's doing is it's going to bail out companies that are in bed with the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, I want to go to now America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Mayor, so today's Apology Day. Are you going to apologize? I think. The guys over there with I want to make sure we get the right group. This is Lincoln Group that's got the pedophile that's the founder or the co-founder. They just found out about. Is that the same group, Raheem?
I missed that.
The Lincoln Project. Yeah, they're the guys. They have the pedophile. John Weaver.
Yeah,
that they all knew about.
Groomer.
Oh,
the grooming project.
John.
He may figure. John Weaver, if we ever go to trial, it may figure big time in this case. Well, here's the point. What I'm doing. I give him a letter back telling him that I will not respond to their letter because they make this one rather sketchy defamatory allegation of tort that I committed. I counted 4 that they did in their letter. So I wrote back to him, son, I represented Dow Jones, Barron's, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Daily News. I did this for a living. And you made a classic mistake. At the very end of the letter, you claimed that I defamed Lincoln Project, except in the first 7 paragraphs of the letter, you defamed me at least 4 or 5 times. So let me analyze it, see what I'm going to do. But right now, I'm spending time figuring out what I should sue you for and how much I can get. So you think about what you want to think about. I mean, they said
by the
things
way,
like...
yeah, go ahead.
No, by the way,
It wasn't about that. It was a diatribe. It was a diatribe about how I had unfounded allegations. You know, I have very founded allegations. Not only that, they knew it because I was on television talking about it, which gets it beyond Times against Sullivan. This used to be my area of litigation. I was really good at it. And this kid, I don't know how long he's going to be with the firm. In other words, it's like sending a letter to someone saying, I'm going to sue you for a car accident, except you were in 10 car accidents with the guy and crippled him. And he's going to sue you for that.
Yeah,
it could be a lot of fun.
By the way, I want to go. Media Matters has just broken a story from Madeline Peltz, the head of marketing for the War Room.
Yes.
And Justin Horowitz.
Yes.
She's taken Justin under her wing now because he's made a few mistakes.
They brought Justin back?
Okay. And they say the headline is Steve Bannon attacks Trump's new impeachment lawyers. Madeline, that headline's not correct. Your story is correct. I definitely attacked the strategy, not the lawyers. Lawyers look like good guys.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
and they're going on Lindsey. This is Lindsey Graham. I'm attacking Lindsey Graham, but I want to go to you, Mayor.
Wait, but you know what this means?
What?
This means now they're watching in real time.
Real time.
For the first time.
We've got, by the way, we had Matt Gaetz on here. We had Matt Gaetz on here earlier, Mayor. Matt Gaetz said he would actually resign from Congress tomorrow to take on, to be one of the lawyers here to argue, which he said is a free option, which is absolutely correct, since the Senate already voted 55-45 for that it was unconstitutional. You got 45 senators. They can't then reverse their thing and vote to convict because they've already said it's unconstitutional. You have a free option here to pursue all the election and voter fraud. And Matt Gaetz is prepared to leave Congress because the ethics guy said you can't stay in Congress. He's prepared to leave Congress as the young firebrand and go defend the president. And he says because of all the work that was done, Rudy, with you going throughout the nation and Peter Navarro and Breyer and all he could get ready in 5 or 6 days. So we're not attacking the lawyers. We're not attacking individuals. They had a strategy they had to execute. And I actually thought what they wrote was fine. I wasn't crazy about the First Amendment part, but the rest I thought was great. We're attacking the strategy because you got a free option. Take it. You got a free option. Take it. Mayor Giuliani, what say you?
Well, you know my views about it. I believe, and of course, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I believe that the president has a perfect defense that should be put out now. They do, in fact, allege that all his statements about the election being stolen led to the violence. So he has to answer that. And there was a great answer to it. His statements about the stolen election are all supported by fact. So if I were doing the case, I would prove those facts. And then if they wouldn't let me prove those facts, I would say then take it out of the impeachment. Take it out of the impeachment document. I'm not going to let you leave it there, and then you didn't let me prove that it's untrue. The second thing he's entitled to show is that there's no connection between the speech and the rally, the riot. The riot was separately planned. It was separately planned by various groups, some of which are very antagonistic to him. And some of them acted as agents provocateurs in the Capitol, for which we have video evidence, and I would prove that. And what we would end up with is, yes, it's unconstitutional. The charge that in any way his discussion of the election was anything but a valid complaint about things that actually happened, and therefore he had a First Amendment right to do it, is perfectly justifiable. And this whole thing about he's responsible for that riot is just a continuation of the Russian collusion, the Ukrainian hoax. It's just their last gasp at trying to destroy this man, maybe the least supportable of all. This needs a vigorous, go-in-their-face defense.
Okay, I want to go.
And to clear the record for the American people, his supporters deserve that defense.
I want to be very specific. The heart of it, page 3 of the charging document or what they passed and thing. The page 3 goes all the way through how he got everybody riled up from the 4th. He never conceded. He started talking about election fraud immediately. This thing was stolen. They call it the big lie. In the charging document, or the theory of the case document yesterday, they call it the big lie. The New York Times the day before does a 10,000 word with, I think, 4 or 5 Pulitzer Prize winners on the cover, 77 days, Trump's campaign to subvert the election, And they call in here the big lie. And you've got, Maggie, Joe Becker, Michael Schmidt, Jim Rutenberg, Jonathan Martin, nothing but killers. Okay? So, Mayor, and this is the heart of they know that because of Raheem's timeline and what you put out and others, Bernie Carrick, they don't have a case now on the day itself. So they've gone now to this, that this has caused it. Do you think, Mayor, that this has to be confronted and taken apart paragraph by paragraph, and it has to go to that charging document and go through it? Otherwise, the American people are going to sit there and go, hey, they charged you guys with this stuff. They said that you lied about it being stolen. Where's your evidence? Where what do you have? So
Steve, I'm absolutely convinced that should be done. Look, I'm the one who did it in 5 places. Every place I went, even though these people knew something about it, they were shocked at how much evidence there was. I mean, one of the benefits of the big cover-up and the big censorship is this will come as a big surprise. When people at 12 o'clock in the afternoon see us play the video from Atlanta, Georgia, in which they're stealing 30,000 votes, and put 5 experts on that can explain exactly how they did it and exactly how that act alone stole.
Roethlisberger says that's another wingnut Rudy idea because he's been on CNN and said, "Hey, that's not a suitcase. This is the way it's done." He walks you through the process. What do you have to say with his counter? He said, "Hey, that's Rudy. Rudy doesn't know how we run elections here. He doesn't know the mechanics. That's fully legal, fully authorized. It's the way we do things." And that's another example of Rudy G just throwing stuff out there that's not correct.
It's as simple as this. Roethlisberger is a complete liar. And the fact is, they dismissed all of the observers. Raffensperger, whatever the heck his name is, doesn't read law. The law of Georgia says ballots like that cannot be opened unless there are observers, including the public. They deliberately go out of their way to remove about 25 observers. You see them do it on the tape. You then see them lock the doors and check one more time to make sure nobody's watching. And then they start counting ballots. Every ballot counted that way, idiot. Every ballot counted that way is illegal. And when the heck do you put ballots under tables covered by black cloths and only take them out at 12 o'clock at night when nobody's around? Do they think we're stupid? And then we had an expert zero in on the tape. And the tape shows ballots being counted 4 and 5 times. And finally, we have the extraneous documentary evidence that during that period of time, Biden received something like 98% of the vote, which means it obviously was a fixed vote. But in any event, those votes are illegal by the mere fact they threw the people out. Not only that, this Rothel somebody said that there were only 2 dead people. I got pictures of 780 dead people who voted. 780, and there were a lot more than that. There was 780 I could get out of the obituaries for the year 20. These were people who died in 2020, like they died in May of 2020 and voted in October. That's a trick. Mayor, over 700 of those.
Mayor, we want you to stay over for the next.
Not 2, like the liar said.
We want you to stay over the next segment. We're trying to get another special guest in here to talk about the social media beatdown you're getting. But I want to just ask, we got about 30 seconds left just in this segment. If you had to bet President Trump's ability to run again in 2024 with the evidence you have, X machines, I'm talking about the low-hanging fruit of voter fraud, would you bet his return to the presidency for a second term on the evidence you have today to present that to the Senate? Yes or no?
I'd get up right now and I'd start the case. I don't need any preparation. I know it. I'm the one who developed the evidence, after all, Steve. You know that. And I brought it all over the country. A lot of people helped, but I'm the one who did it. It's in my head. And my record as a trial lawyer is, I'd say it's embarrassing for me to tell you that. But yeah, I could do this. I no longer have to be a witness, and I could do it I could do it without a note.
Mayor, we're going to take a short break. We'll return. America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, on the defense of the president at the trial of the century. Next, War and Pandemic.
We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all lied for too long.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
So left-wing Twitter's blown up on the Gates thing, but by the way,
yeah.
they should know if Gates does step down, I think Congressman Green's got a colleague down in the thing, so just left-wing, you have
No, here's what happens. If Matt Gates steps down, Laura Loomer takes the seat. Get that in your face, left-wing Twitter.
Okay, we got to go. Rudy, you're no longer mentioned as a witness in these documents. That means that whole thing of the whole witness thing was to keep you off this. You're actually free now to participate as a lawyer?
Absolutely. Not only that, the whole defamatory thing about me is done to keep me off this. They wouldn't attack me so much if I was ineffective.
What is your
Why do they keep
hold
me
on?
off
As
television?
effective,
Because-
hang on. As effective, and by the way, the audience hates when I speak over you, but I got to sometimes. As effective as a prosecutor, right? As a prosecutor, how many cases have you lost?
I never lost a case. I had 2 hung juries, and then I went back and convicted them after a little delay. So I guess I was something like 52, 0 and 2.
Okay.
As a defense lawyer, I've done pretty darn well, but I haven't won obviously every case. And appeals, I've probably won about 10 out of 14.
Okay. I want to go now to.
I'm really good at what I do.
that we're short. I want to go
I'm very
back.
confident.
So I just want to make sure we're clear about this. They gave you a deadline today. I take it you're not apologizing?
Yeah, I'm writing it here. Right here. I write it myself. I'm basically telling them I'm not going to respond because I got to spend my time analyzing your defamatory statements. You take language, ambiguous language, you torture it and give it a different meaning. I got 5 defamatory statements. I had no proof. That's a defamatory statement. I lied about the rally. That's a defamatory statement. I've got the pictures right here. I mean, I don't want to go through it all.
Yeah, don't give
If this goes ahead of they'll have a 1 count. I'll have 5, and I'll sue them for. Maybe I'll take over the Lincoln Project.
Okay, I want
to hire Mayor Giuliani because I want him to figure out who in the Lincoln Project knew what John Weaver was up to and when they knew it. I want their documents. I want their emails. I want their texts.
Raheem, that's a great idea. They should hire me as their independent investigator.
Audit them.
An audit.
I'd give them an honest report. Was it just Weaver, or were there other pedophiles, hanging around the Lincoln Project with him?
Oh my God! I can tell what
I'll give them an
I can
honest
tell what the
report.
lead on the
Maybe
show is
it
going
was
to
just
be.
a singular act by Weaver.
Rudy,
Maybe
my man.
it was just Weaver, or maybe he had a bunch of guys that.
This is my fault.
Rudy, you're killing me. I knew you were going to get a start.
is my
Raheem.
fault.
You're killing me. You're killing me again. Okay.
I'm not saying. Wait, let me make it clear. I don't want any more defamation stuff. I'm not saying that they did that.
Please. Okay.
This is an allegation, and it's not even an allegation. They may be clean as a whistle,
Okay.
but it has to be investigated.
Okay. I brought
Right?
a very special guy in here to talk about this. Matthew Taylor, the great filmmaker. He made the film a couple of years ago called The Creepy Line off Eric Schmidt's comments about this whole thing about shutting down. Mayor Giuliani's been under assault. All of us have been under assault. We're all being deplatformed. What advice would you have for Giuliani, the War Room, coming off of your film?
Look, we've been warning about this for years. And the thing is on the left, everyone's thought, well, they're only targeting people on the right. They're targeting everybody eventually. That's the thing. They're coming for everybody.
Why do you mean? What do you say? Who on the left do they come for?
Well, look, the thing is, right now they're coming for Bernie Sanders. They're coming for people who think that anything is...
How are they coming for Bernie Sanders?
Well, they're saying that dressing down at the inauguration is white supremacy. They're changing
because of the mittens.
Because of the mittens, and so the thing is that these big tech firms have their own goals. They don't have left or right goals. They have their goals, and if you're not part of that set of goals, you're out. Which is a lot of people on both the left and the right. The right are first, but they're coming for the left next.
When you say their own goals, what do you mean their own goals? Are these goals globalist goals? Are they anti-American goals? Are they pro-American goals? When you say goals, that's kind of nebulous. What do you mean they have their own goals?
Well, look, if you take Google, for example, Google is a utopian entity. They believe that they can solve all the problems according to their paradigm. The problem is we don't know what their paradigm is. That's the issue. The issue is if we knew what the paradigm was, we could fight against it more even-handedly. But unfortunately, we don't know what it is, but we do know that statements have come out from Sergey Brin, have leaked from the companies, whether it's Facebook, Google, and so on, that they see the world in a certain way. They have a way to eliminate things they view as evil, and if you're evil, you're gone.
Mayor Giuliani, before we bounce out of here, I got to find out about your podcast. The podcast is on fire. It's one of the top ranked. You're now competitive. You're now competitive with Raheem's podcast. You guys are kind of back in the pack, right? I see you in the rearview mirror. But tell everybody about the podcast, how they can get it, how they get to your site, and particularly how do you get to your radio show? People forget you do a live radio show every day, and you take callers. And here's the great. Some of the callers are in your grill, which I think is fantastic. Walk through how do people get to you?
Well, the radio show, you just go WABCradio.com. You can get it all over the world. You can also get an app, WABC Radio app, and you can get it all over the world. And then for my podcast, it's rudyscommonsense.com. You just hit subscribe and you got it. It's on Rambler and a bunch of other platforms. But if you go to my website, you'll also get a lot of other information about what we're doing.
Okay, you've got a podcast coming out tonight. It's Wednesday. It's a Wednesday, Friday long. It's tonight. You got a new one?
Yep, we got a new one, and we're taking a good look at Biden's attempt to unite.
Yeah.
We're sort of evaluating how good a job is he doing uniting when 73% of the American people don't agree with him on abortion and don't believe that you should be able to kill a baby 1 minute before.
Well, 40% of the American people think he's illegitimate. 81% of the Republicans have heard Rudy think he's illegitimate and illegal. That's the first thing you ought to do is help bind the wound that divides the nation, and that is the illegitimacy and illegality of November 30. You ought to step forward in that. Real quickly, Matthew, how do they get Creepy Line in your other films?
So Creepy Line is on Amazon and iTunes right now. It's Creepy Line. It's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it for free.
Can't believe they haven't pulled it. What else? How do they get more to your filmmaking?
We also have Safeguard, an electoral college story about the electoral college, what it is and why it matters. That's also on Amazon Prime. You can watch it right now.
Matthew's fantastic. He was my DP and director of photography for how many? 12, 14 of the films?
A lot.
Too many. Too
many to count.
Too much
Can we
fun.
get you back?
Mayor Giuliani's podcast coming up. Mayor Giuliani, thank you so much. Raheem, back at 5. You got your podcast
I'm
today?
going to go record a new episode of the podcast. Right, got loads of news, buried leads that people are missing out in the news today. Make sure you subscribe.
Number 8 ranked podcast. I think Rudy's 9. Matthew Taylor, thank you very much. We'll be back at 5 o'clock. Pasobik, Raheem Kassam, Stephen K. Bannon in the war room. Bunch of breaking news tonight.